What up? Your boy Bowie here, man. And I'm just gonna come right out and say it. This video is political. It's political as a motherfucker. And the reason why is because I have a public service announcement. Conservatism is bad. And not only is conservatism bad, it is actively dangerous to the human race, and it should be rejected completely and replaced with something else. And when I talk about conservatism, I'm talking about modern day mainstream right-wing conservatism with a capital C. You know, the kind of conservatism that allowed for the rise of Donald Trump. You know, the kind of conservatism that basically allows the Republican Party to consist of two main guiding principles, and that is cutting taxes for the wealthy and culture war bullshit. That kind of conservatism, that shit needs to die. You know, it needs to be completely obliterated in all its forms because it's dangerous and it's stupid and it's unpopular and it indicates just a raw lack of intelligence. You know what I'm saying? Like, people that actively use their brains and really are intellectually curious and stuff like that, they really do tend to avoid a lot of the pratfalls of this kind of thinking. But even sometimes they can be susceptible to it if they have a highly religious stint. But capital C conservatism is bad, bruh. It's bad. And really, it's, you know, one of the core philosophies that allows white supremacy to continue to exist. It's, you know, some of the main guiding principles behind misogyny, bigotry, racism, you know, sexism, all that shit. All those damn terrible isms and bigotries and all those things, they all are, you know, they all have a basis in conservatism. So let's sort of examine what why conservatism even exists. Where did it come from? You know what I'm saying? So conservatism is sort of self-explanatory, you know. It's in the word, to conserve. And what is it that they're conserving? They're conserving the past. You know, their premier philosophy is that things were better back in the day. You know. And not only were things better back in the day, we need to actively reject what we currently have, reject the way things are today, and revert to how things were back in the day. So instead of actively moving forward and progressing, we need to move backwards. That is what conservatism more or less says at a basic level, regardless of what country you're in or what specific policies you're talking about. That's what conservatism basically says in a nutshell. And I'll say this, as an aging millennial, I can understand the appeal of, I can understand the appeal of something like this. I can. I really can. Music. I ain't gonna lie. I am a picky man when it comes down to certain things. And music is one of the most choicest things that I engage in. And what I mean by that is I am very, very selective about what I listen to, who I listen to, when I listen to it. You know, I pretty much know within the first couple seconds of hearing a record whether I would give it a shot or whether I don't, because I just feel like life is too short to be listening to whack shit. And there's so much good music out there and so many talented people out there that are not discovered, that will never get a break, that to me there's no excuse for people to be mediocre when they have a platform, and there's certainly no reason for them to be bad. Now you might think this kind of runs counter to some of the stuff that I said about Ice Spice, and it really doesn't, because here's the thing. I've accepted that, you know, as a general society, we've accepted the idea of people being poor or mediocre at making music. You know, we've let whack rappers exist forever. We've let them exist, and we've given them space. And we listen to their music. Not me, but so many people will actively listen to whack rappers if the beat is hot. You know what I'm saying? Or if they have some sort of personal connection or share some sort of kinship with this whack rapper. You know what I'm saying? And so to me, my argument was, if you already allow for the existence of so many other whack rappers, why are y'all picking on Ice Spice for being whack allegedly? You know what I'm saying? Like, the girl's young, and she ain't no worse than anybody else that we consider to be whack. I mean, Gucci Mane is one of the trashest rappers of all life in terms of lyrics, flow, storytelling, wordplay, like all the metrics that we would make, you know, use to consider somebody great at rapping. He's bad in all these areas, but he's a legend to some people now. You know, he's been in the game for, you know, over a decade, and he's celebrated. So if he can exist, Ice Spice can exist. But anyway, that's just a sidebar. My whole point was, you know, even though I understand that we let these whack people exist, I don't fucking listen to them. None of them. If they sound too much like other people, or I'm not feeling the production or the flow or nothing like that, I ain't fucking with it. I don't care. Because I'm stuck on, you know, my era of hip-hop and the one that came before it. And what I mean by that is, that doesn't mean I don't listen to new stuff. I'm saying that I still judge new things by that old criteria. You gotta be original. You gotta be good. You gotta have flow. You gotta do something different. You know what I'm saying? Like, all those things still matter to me. You still gotta have some level of lyricism, some level of wordplay, flow, something. I should not be able to feel like I can rap better than you. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's just my thing. And I don't care what era we're in currently, that's the way I assess these dudes and gals. Personally. And so, that's a conservative mindset, kinda. Because I'm unwilling to accept these new parameters of what people consider to be dope, or how people assess an MC. People don't even call their rappers MCs no more. You know what I'm saying? Like, They just call themselves rappers or whatever the hell. I don't know what the fuck they call themselves. But they're certainly not MCs. And they don't pretend to be. But I have a conservative mindset, so to speak, in that realm. However, I would never seek to impose my criteria, my personal criteria on how I view music and how I wish people did what they used to do back in the day onto new dudes and be like, nah, we need to go back to the way it was. No, we don't need to go back to the way it was, because everything wasn't all great in nostalgia land. We had a bunch of toxic masculinity. You had a bunch of street dudes out here rapping the most violent, the most misogynistic, the most toxic ass lyrics ever. You know what I'm saying? You got guys that couldn't even be themselves because they had to, you know, they felt like they needed to be of the streets and all this. You know what I'm saying? Like, there would be no room for someone like a J. Cole or a Kendrick. They would have been relegated to backpack rap back then. Now we know better. You know what I'm saying? Now things are much more open. Things are much more inclusive. That's good. There's more diversity of styles and genres and, you know, musical palettes in hip hop. That's nothing but good. Period. But such variety did not exist back in the day. And for me to adopt a fully conservative mindset over this, I would be sitting there simultaneously rejecting all the new good shit that's out, and I'm not willing to do that. But you see how I can be intellectually honest about my viewpoints and analyze the good and the bad? The average conservative that I'm talking about is completely unable or unwilling to do the same thing. They can't do it. They can't fucking do it. You know, their whole scenario is this. They think, you know, the way that our society is set up or has been set up, it's always been that way. And because it's always been that way, that's the way it should always be. Things are what they are. We don't need to change them. And because they are a certain way, it needs to stay that way. And a lot of this is steeped in religion, to be honest with you. A lot of this is steeped in religion. And whether they care to admit it or not, these people are theocrats. And they are very much as theocratic as Al-Qaeda or the Taliban, you know, who want to, you know, enforce Sharia law in the government. You know, the main thing with a lot of these terrorist groups is they want the Quran basically to be law. They want their religious text to be law. And so if something's a sin according to the Quran, then it should be illegal by law. And that's fundamentally anti-American. Because our government established a separation between church and state. It went out of its way to avoid using the word Christ in the Constitution. God is in the Constitution, yes. But if this were really a Christian nation, why isn't Jesus in the Constitution? I'm just saying. But my point is, these folks are so hemmed up in their narrow idea of what religion is. They want their narrow ass scope of religion to be the law of the land. And they want it to be the way that we run our society for everybody. You want everybody to abide by your individual religious beliefs. And that's the kind of conservatism that is garbage. You know. And here's one of the things that conservatives are too scared to say. Really, they do not believe in freedom. They fundamentally do not believe in freedom. They don't. They believe in obedience to a supreme authority. Absolute obedience to a supreme authority. And for most of them, they would say that that authority is God. They say that, but they don't even obey him. And they know they don't obey him. So it ain't really that authority. They certainly don't believe in government, unless that government happens to be run by Republicans and Trump. Then they would agree with that. But they want everybody to submit their free will and their freedom to an authority figure. But they want everyone else to do it. That's the thing. They themselves don't want to abide by this. And we know this because, you know, during the height of the COVID pandemic, when we had every legitimate medical authority verifying the validity of these vaccines and all that, and with all this information about how beneficial and effective and safe these vaccines are, these people went out of their way to avoid listening to authority figures. They made Dr. Fauci into public enemy number one. Just because he's out here talking about the efficacy of the vaccine. Now, Fauci wasn't perfect. He certainly wasn't blameless. He did lie. But they weren't mad at him for those reasons. They were mad because he happened to be an authority figure they didn't want to listen to. And so they rejected everything he had to say. And Trump didn't make it no better because he was their preferred authority figure, and he would stoke up animus between his base and Dr. Fauci. And their stupid asses prolonged this goddamn pandemic for everybody. And, you know, cost people their lives and their health. You know, by getting infected with COVID and all that kind of stuff. All because they don't believe in freedom. Well, they selectively believe in freedom for themselves only. They believe in absolute freedom for themselves and no freedom for anyone else. So, if you only believe in freedom for some people, then that means you don't believe in freedom. You don't. Because if you believe in something sometimes, or in some situations, that means you don't fully believe in it all the time. Or there's caveats. And caveats are okay. Like, I believe in free speech, but free speech comes with caveats. My belief in free speech comes with the caveat of you are not free from consequences, and all speech is not free speech. Or free speech does not mean all speech. So there's important caveats in my belief in free speech, but I can acknowledge them And I can detail what those caveats are and explain why I have them. These conservative motherfuckers don't think about this. They can't do that. They believe what they believe. They like what they like. They feel how they feel. And that's it. That's all the discussion they need to have. There's no, intellectual analysis. There's no nothing. There's no further inquiry. No nothing. There's no intellectual curiosity. There's no room for debate. Nothing. You know what I'm saying? Like, and this kind of attitude leads to all kinds of other bullshit, such as the rampant anti-intellectualism that's, par for the course in this country, where they scorn people that are educated and don't want children being fully knowledgeable about all aspects of society, especially the unpleasant ones. This is what leads to them saying that teachers are indoctrinating children and stuff like that, and teachers want to groom children, and colleges are liberal indoctrinating factories and shit like that. Like, that's what leads to these things. You know what I'm saying? Let me make sure this thing loops. Yeah. Alright. Yeah. But yeah, I'm just of the mindset that all that stuff leads back to conservatism. It does. Conservatism is the incubator that breeds all that bullshit. Do you know what I mean? And oh Lord, let's see. Let me make sure this is doing what it's supposed to do. Oh no, it's tripping right now. Tweaking. Hold on. Seems like I'm always having some technical difficulties out here in these streets. Sorry about this, y'all. There we go. Yeah, but yeah, so conservatism is the thing that allows all this shit to happen. So it's November 16th right now, Wednesday, November 16th, and we just had an election, the midterm elections of 2022, last Tuesday, and pundits everywhere had predicted that the Democrats would get destroyed in these midterms. You know, right-wing voters were pissed off at the election. Democrats were being rather inept. And those two things put together, combined with low turnout for voters, was going to lead to a shellacking. And I believed it too. I had no reason to think that it would turn out any different than that. But we were wrong. The red wave that was supposed to happen, that shit was a red squirt. In the media, they call it a red trickle, but trickle just doesn't sound that good. Squirt is better. The Republicans did well in 2 states, Florida and Ohio, but everywhere else, they lost. Not only did Republicans not win a whole bunch of seats from Democrats, I mean, the Democrats actually gained a seat in the Senate. You know what I'm saying? So Democrats gained a senator, and as far as Republicans taking over the House, they're gonna probably gain if they do take over the House, it'll be by a razor thin. I'm talking about a couple of seats margin. By comparison, when Barack Obama was president, at this time during his presidency, Republicans had gained 60 seats in the House. And they completely took over the Senate and Congress, period. So, comparatively speaking, the Republicans are doing absolutely terribly. They did a squirt. They squirted out there. They didn't have a wave. They had a squirt. DeSantis got his little water gun and he sprayed because he did beat Charlie Crist. And Rubio outperformed his Democratic opponent too. Both of whom, by the way, were conservative Democrats. I just have to put that out there. You know, Charlie Crist literally was a Republican governor of Florida who flipped to become a Democrat, and Val Demings was a damn tough on crime Democrat who was a former cop. And both of them got their ass whooped by actual conservatives. So, yeah. But why am I talking about this? Well, now that voting season is over with, the Republican Party has to reckon with the fact that they underperformed. They drastically underperformed. And, hi, babe. I'm up here recording a vid. No, it's okay. It's okay. I like when you interject in my vids. Hi, babe. It smells amazing out here. Sheesh. Yeah. But the Republican Party has to reckon with the fact that their party performed like trash. But two things happened that caused them to perform like trash. One thing was they overturned Roe versus Wade. They successfully got the Supreme Court to overturn the fundamental right of abortion over to the states. And turns out when you go balls to the wall in restricting freedoms for a group of people that have long enjoyed them, a group of people who make up the majority of people in your country, on an issue that is highly popular, and you take a position that is unpopular, you motivate people to vote against you. So that's one of the things that happened. The second thing is connected to the first, and that is young people came out to the polls and voted they motherfucking ass off. I'm talking about the Gen Z people, the folks younger than me. They came out and they voted. And I know they did because several of my students told me that they went and voted. And guess what? More of them will be doing so in 2024 because there are kids that are 16 now who know that abortion has been left to the states. And so many states have restrictive laws regarding that. And they're 16 this year, but they'll be turning 18 by the time November come around 2024. So guess what the fuck they gonna do? Vote. So the anti-conservative voters are growing. And you know what the conservative voters are doing? Shrinking. Half of them can't decide if they want to still align themselves with Donald Trump or if they want to jump off the Trump train because his ass is a loser now. Well, I, for one, hope to see this fracture continue because I want the Republican Party to be weak. I want it to be shriveled. I want it to be divided because a weak Republican Party means that conservatism can't rule the land. So I want them to be fractured. I do. I don't give a damn. Because, like I said, conservatism is a danger to human life. And I'm not bullshitting when I say this. Why? Because even though Democratic politicians aren't really that willing to tackle the serious issues of climate change and all that kind of stuff, at least they acknowledge its existence. At least they're willing to put forth some legislation to try to slow some of the effects that human activity is having on our planet. The Republicans won't even admit that this is a problem. They won't even acknowledge it. They won't even acknowledge that A, climate change exists, and B, it's caused by human activity. Now, some of it is because of raw ignorance, because they are anti-scientific, anti-intelligent, anti-gaining knowledge, you know, all that kind of stuff. Anti-science. But the majority of it is because they are bought and owned by the industries that are doing the worst damage to our planet. And they wouldn't want to piss off any of their corporate bosses by doing legislation that slows their profits. They don't believe in that. You know what I mean? And if all you care about is greed and attaining power, it's a smart play. It really is. But if you actually care about human life and preserving it for the next generation, you realize that this is a terrible option. They are actively putting the human race in danger by stalling progress. But such is the conservative way. And that's the other thing that makes conservatism dangerous, is that they actively stall progress. Not only do they stall future progress that we haven't attained yet, they've even learned how to stall progress that we've actually already achieved. I already mentioned abortion, how they overturned Roe versus Wade. Apparently, that's not all they're willing to stop at. They want to overturn gay marriage. They want to overturn people's right to contraception. And I'm not playing. They really want to do this. They said as much. At this moment, the Senate is passing through a bill to basically try to codify same-sex marriage into law, trying to protect it, basically. And they actually have some Republican support, which is like low-key very shocking, because I have no faith in this Republican Party nowadays, but they got some Republican support, so they have enough votes to advance this bill to the House. And because this bill was originally a House bill that got some changes, all the House has to do is, vote to accept the changes. Once the House and the Senate pass that bill, it goes to Biden, and Biden's going to sign it into law. But the reason why this bill even had to be made is because Justice Clarence Thomas indicated in his, decision on overturning Roe versus Wade, his willingness to look at other cases, such as the case that decided that gay marriage was a constitutional right. So, not only did they roll back a woman's right to choose, but they're trying to roll back gay marriage. Let me tell you something. Rolling back a right is the antithesis of extending freedom. It's restricting it. And when you restrict people's freedom, you are actively being anti-American, because, one thing above everything that this country is supposed to stand for, we're supposed to stand for freedom. And so we should always be in favor of extending freedom wherever we can, allowing more people to pursue happiness, you know? But that is not the MO of conservatives. They want to restrict freedom. Restrict freedoms that they don't like, extend the freedoms that they do, only to themselves, though. So it's scary, man. It's 2022, and the way I'm talking, you would think it's 1922. And I'm not just saying these things because I'm some strong blue liberal. I am not a liberal. I do not fuck with the Democrats. I did not vote for Joe Biden in 2020. I don't plan on voting for him again either. The Democrats do not own my damn vote at all. But having said all of that, I meant every word that I said about conservatives. They believe in freedom for nobody but themselves, and they want to restrict everybody but themselves. Because in me talking about that bill trying to protect gay marriage, two of the right's most dearest internet darlings, Ben Shapiro, and I forgot the other boy name, Matt Walsh is his name, both of them came out strongly and said that any Republican that votes for that gay marriage bill should be exiled from the party. Basically saying that if you want to protect gay marriage, if you want to force people or force states to recognize the marriages of same-sex people the same way they they recognize straight people's marriages, you don't belong in the party. And I'm not making that up. That's what the nigga said. That's what both of them niggas said. Because they have this narrow idea that marriage is only between two straight people, only between a man and a woman, and the only purpose of marriage is for them to procreate and have mad children. That is what marriage is for. So if you ain't doing that in your marriage, you ain't really married, or you're not abiding by the quote unquote laws and traditions of marriage. And it's like, bro, marriage is a social construct that we created. Religious folks can say that God ordained marriage. You can say that. But even if we claim that that's true, God didn't necessarily say how we're supposed to use marriage. He didn't specify that, hey, your job is to only get married so that you can make more babies. That's it. So all these married folks that choose not to have children, or maybe they're trying to have children but haven't done it yet. You know, all those married couples, they ain't doing marriage right because they ain't got no children. No, kiss my ass. We can do what the fuck we want to do. It's our marriage. And what one married couple decides to do within the confines of their marriage has no effect on anybody else. It does not endanger anyone else. It does not discourage you from doing whatever you want to do in your marriage. I am completely unaffected by my gay neighbors across the street and what happened in their marriage. I don't even know if they're married. I'm going to assume that they're married. Me and my wife are unaffected by their marriage. We don't even know their names. So how would we be affected by what they're doing in their home? You know? But conservatives don't believe that. They believe that when you extend freedom to people that they feel don't deserve the freedom, it actively puts everybody else in danger. Like, they split people up into those who deserve and those who do not deserve. And if you belong to the class of people that do not deserve, you don't get to enjoy freedom. You don't get to enjoy certain inalienable rights that are supposed to be afforded to all Americans. In other words, your rights are not really rights if you are a part of the class of people that does not deserve. And that's what they too shook to say, to be honest. They too cowardly. Years ago, I said that the diet racist is a coward, and I meant that, and I still mean it. I'm going to include conservatives in that, because virtually every diet racist is a goddamn conservative. So, yeah, they're cowards. They're cowards because they know that if they really let the whole mask off and say what they really want to say, they would get laughed out of the fucking building. They know that they would get booed. They know that they would be judged. They know that they would be labeled. And they know that people don't fuck with their ideas. Not even their own people fully agree with them. You know what I'm saying? Like, they don't agree. They do not agree. And because we live in a democracy, when the majority of people don't agree with you, you don't get your policies out in the open, but they don't give a fuck about that either. I told you, they're anti-American. You know, an angry, violent group of conservatives stormed the Capitol building on January 6th, 2021, to protest the Democratic results of the 2020 election. They say they believe in freedom and democracy in America until it does something that they don't want them to do. They don't want it to do. America voted for Joe Biden as president over their objection. And rather than suck it up, accept the L and move on, reflect, regroup, rebrand, learn and adapt and grow, these motherfuckers decided that they were going to, try to throw a coup in order to reinstall their preferred person in power, and got mad at the people who, did their patriotic duty to prevent it from happening. You know what I mean? And it's just like, I'm not even surprised at that shit, though. Because conservatives have always told us who they were. The rest of us have been willfully ignorant. The same people that would lynch little black girls, the same people that would kill a young boy like Emmett Till, the same people that would argue that the color of skin determines somebody's value as a human being, those people with that ideology and those ideologies, they make up the modern day American conservative movement. They have long told us who the fuck they were. And so we gotta listen. So when I run into somebody who I know is a conservative, they don't get my respect. They really don't, man. Now, I give you some grace if you are a conservative from yesteryear or whatever. I ain't mad at you. You know what I mean? You're probably a conservative because you were always conservative. You grew up conservative, voting Republican and stuff like that. I'll give some grace to them people. But the majority of y'all, I don't respect y'all at all, bruh. And I ain't really even talking about my young students, because when you're young, you're allowed to be dumb. You're allowed to say and think stupid things, because the hope is that you grow up. The hope is you experience enough of the world to realize that you were operating from a place of ignorance. Because we all were. At one point, I used to think, oh my God, abortion's wrong. Abortion is murder. If you don't want to have a baby, you just shouldn't have sex. That was my narrow brain, or narrow mind, thinking that that's the only circumstance under which abortion happens. It's like, no. When you actually explore the reality, you realize that abortions happen for thousands of reasons. And you realize why it's dangerous for a local or a federal government to restrict a woman's access to it. Even if you disagree with it philosophically, you understand that, hey, there might be a woman who was carrying her baby to term, had prepared and made her whole life ready for the arrival of her new child, but this child will kill her if she tries to deliver it, and the child's unviable, or the child has some sort of crazy defect that, you know, makes it completely unviable outside of the womb, or it's already dead in the womb, or maybe the child's perfectly healthy, but the child's father raped the mother, or maybe the child's father's related to the mother somehow. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's all kind of crazy circumstances under which women become pregnant. And the women in question should get to decide whether they carry those babies to term. It shouldn't be up to a government to make that decision for them. You know what I'm saying? My hope is, you know, those of you that are young that might have some conservative thoughts, my hope is that you grow and learn and realize, oh, I was tripping. I didn't know nothing back then. I know better now. Just like we all did, you know? But sometimes people don't grow up. Sometimes people don't develop, and they don't learn, and they don't grow, and they don't adapt to new information. They don't take well to hearing the truth. And that's probably one of the most dangerous things about conservatism, is that it doesn't give a fuck about the truth. Not to say that the ideology that Democrats practice cares about truth, because they don't. They ignore inconvenient truths all the time as well. And they actively reject truths that don't suit them. But we ain't talking about Democrats right now. We not talking about liberalism. We talking about conservatism. Liberalism, though flawed, is not an active danger to humanity in the way that conservatism is. Conservatism is actively dangerous to people. It stifles your own personal growth and development. It causes people to make terrible decisions regarding their own health and other people's health. You have thousands, hundreds of thousands of unvaccinated people that died needlessly during the height of the COVID pandemic. Why? Because they listened to Fox News. They listened to Donald Trump. They believed him. And really, they didn't even listen to him because Trump was hyping up those vaccines. It's probably his greatest achievement as president. Operation Warp Speed. That's his greatest achievement as president. The development of the COVID vaccine. The rapid development and distribution of the COVID-19 vaccine. It is his greatest presidential achievement. Bar none. Because typically vaccines take years to develop, months to test. This shit got out quick because of the development of the new mRNA technology that delivered the vaccine. I mean, that did take decades to develop, but it came to perfection during the COVID pandemic, you know. And Trump gets all the credit from me for getting that out to people, or removing the red tape from the development of that vaccine. But notice, I, as a vehement anti-Trump person, can still give the dude credit for an objectively good thing he did. Can conservatives do that? No, the fuck they can't. Most of them cannot. They think everything that a Democrat does is bad. Everything. All things. Because most of them are partisan as shit. And all they know how to do is mindlessly cheerlead for their preferred team. That shit is also dangerous. But we ain't talking about partisanship right now. But my point is this. If you are falling under the guise of conservatism, or you have grown up being conservative, or whatever, you know someone that's grown up being conservative, I implore you, get out of where the hell you live, bruh. Take a trip. No lie, take a trip. Take a trip. If you live in Florida, go all over Florida, man. Go all over. Go to Orlando, go to Tallahassee, go to Miami. If you're somewhere else, go to other states. Go to California. Go to New York. Go to Philadelphia. Go everywhere. Go to Seattle. Go to Arizona. I don't give a damn. I don't give a damn. Better yet, go outside the country. Go to Europe. Go to South America. Go to the Caribbean. Go anywhere you can go. Anywhere but here. Wherever the hell you at. Wherever you grew up at, get the fuck out. For real. Because I promise you, the world is so much bigger than wherever you grew up from, or wherever you're from. The world is so much bigger and better. People do things differently in different places, and what you'll discover is a lot of times these people have really great ideas about how things should be done and can be done, and they've solved problems that, you know, your familiar place has long had. Yo, who is calling me right now, son? I don't even know you. Anyway, but other places do things differently, and that is nothing but a blessing. And you can't help but notice that when you're out there experiencing it. You know what I'm saying? So you need to get out. Go out into the world. Go all over. Go all over. You will see very quickly that your hometown does not have a monopoly on all good things. It's definitely comfortable, because ain't no place like home. You know, ain't no place like home. It's going to be more comfortable. It's going to be more familiar. But it's not going to have a monopoly on all great things. And that alone, that shift in perspective, is enough to kill conservative thought in people. a lot of times. Besides moving from wherever you're from, let me implore you to meet different people. I'm talking about all kind of different people. People that you normally would seek to avoid. Make some gay friends if you're homophobic. For real, for real. Talk to some gay people. Talk to some Muslims. Talk to some trans people. Like, and I'm not talking about surface level, hi, how you doing? No, really talk with them. Listen to them. Have a discussion with them. Talk about these things. For real. Talk with some black people. Get their perspective. You know what I'm saying? Because having conversations with people that are outside of your conservative bubble a lot of times will burst that bubble. It will. There are so many people that equate Islam with terrorism, and they've never met a Muslim in their life. They think they can look at people and tell whether they're Muslim or not. And it's like, no. Being Muslim is not, it's not an ethnicity, bruh. It's a faith. You can look at somebody and tell that they might have some Middle Eastern roots or origins or something like that. Or their family might be from the Middle East. But that does not necessarily make them Muslim. You know? Because Islam is practiced by people that look like everybody. There are Muslims of all different kinds and colors and shapes and creeds and all that. You know what I'm saying? So you can't look at nobody and tell that they're Muslim. And Muslim is not synonymous with terrorist. As crazy as all this shit sounds, conservatives actually have to be told these things because they don't know. And that's one of the reasons why conservatism is so bad, because it's so insular and it's so anti-knowledge and anti-intellectual and it's so hypocritical and it's so restrictive and it's so authoritarian. You know what I mean? It's anti-American. It's anti-American. It really, truly is. Because the America that we hear about all the time, it's not conservative. It has nothing in common with conservatism whatsoever. And that's just the way I see it. Now, unlike a conservative, my mind can be changed with evidence. You know, evidence can change my mind, but it's going to take a lot of evidence. Why? Because there's a lot of counter evidence to what I'm saying here. That backs up what the hell I'm saying. I'm not making this video off of my own feelings. I'm making this off of years and years of observations, you know, anecdotal experiences, not just that, not even primarily that, but reading texts, you know, looking at studies, just observing conservative behavior for years and years and years, both in real life and through the internet, and looking at the policies that these people support and the politicians they tend to vote for and listening to their words. I'm in conservative circles. I hear the things that these people say. I watch the videos. I look at the news articles, all that stuff. And this video is a response to them. It's bad. Conservatism is bad. And it should be actively purged from every American. This, of course, means that the Republican Party is going to have to reject conservatism in its current form one day. It's going to have to. If it wants to remain a viable political party for the future, it is going to have to reject conservatism. It's going to have to become more progressive. Or it won't survive, to be honest with you. They're going to have to continue to cheat and gerrymander and, rig elections and play voter suppression games and all that. They're going to have to continue to do that in order to even to hang on to power. But there's only so far those efforts are going to be able to get them. At a certain point, they're going to be relegated to a third party unless they get rid of conservatism, remove the conservatism from their ideology. Because like I said, the conservative ideology only consists of cutting taxes for the wealthy and culture war. Now, culture war shit covers a whole wide range of issues, all of which are social, none of which actually materially benefit the voters that believe in them. Because there's no material benefit to the average person for restricting abortion, upending gay marriage. It just makes them feel good. It allows them to feel like that the country's moving back to the way that stuff was. But does it actually put food on the table? Money in the pocket? No. It does not. But they don't even care about that. They would rather turn back in time so bad that they won't even do what is necessary to benefit their own families and their own lives just for some nostalgia. Shit is crazy, dog. And let me say this. Yes, conservatism is rampant on the right, but don't think it don't exist everywhere else. There are conservative Democrats. I know, because I'm black. If you're a black person in the South, generally speaking, you either are or some church folks that believe in a lot of these same stupid ass ideas that some of the Republicans do concerning religion. Christianity specifically. They believe that marriage is strictly between a man and a woman. They believe in upholding stupid ass gender rules that are arbitrary and are created by society. They believe that girls wear pink and boys wear blue, except for that part where boys used to wear pink way back in the day. They believe that a woman's place is subservient to a man, is in being subservient to a man, and she got to be quiet and submit to her husband. And it's like, look, you can believe all that shit if you want to, as long as you don't try to impose that belief into law. But I'm just pointing out that these people exist in the blue party as well as the red party. And frankly, I don't give a fuck what party it's in. That conservative bullshit needs to die everywhere. It needs to be eradicated. I'm not trying to tell you to reject Christianity. I'm telling you, you need to reject white supremacy. I'm telling you, you need to reject hegemony. You know, we need to reject the status quo where rich white men get to decide or get to be the arbiters of what all the rest of us need to accept in society. Conservatism is their way, their rules, not ours. It does not serve us. It does not benefit us. And therefore, we need to reject it in all of its forms. But with that being said, y'all, I'm out this motherfucker. I'm gone.